This request comes from Paper Prince 2 on what if Gohan was the legendary Super Saiyan instead of Broly, and it doesn't turn out too well at first, as his rage against Raditz awakens it, and nobody capable of bringing him under control in time has him wipe out Goku and Piccolo, along with Raditz. Kuririn, Roshi, and Bulma find Gohan, who has no memory of what happened, as they assume Goku and Piccolo gave their lives to get rid of Raditz. Meanwhile, Kami requests Goku and Piccolo are able to keep their bodies and learn from Kaio, in hopes they can gain both the strength and communications to let those on Earth know of the threat Gohan's rage proves. After having learnt all they can from Kaio, Goku contacts Chi-Chi and tells her the truth as the one closest to Gohan. He also tells her he can come back for one day if necessary, but for no longer without the Dragon Balls, to which Kaio comments about Namek. After a little exposition on Kami's rough origins, both Bulma and Popo are contacted, and their efforts combined have them restore Kami's ship, and she heads to Namek with Yamcha, Kuririn, and Gohan as per Chi-Chi's request, with her now fearful of her son. Without Raditz being told of the Dragon Balls, Vegeta and Nappa aren't a threat to either planet when they have no reason to go off schedule. Speaking of which, Broly would be part of their team when having been born with a battle power of the typical elite or mid-class, being a bit stronger than Raditz at this point, and been sent on a frontier mission before planet Vegeta was destroyed. When arriving, they are permitted to use the Dragon Balls, reviving Goku and Piccolo before attempting to wish for Gohan's enraged state to be sealed away. This is fruitless due to it being stronger than the Saichoro, with the third wish being Goku's request to be brought to Namek, getting his potential unlocked, and then doing what he can to teach Gohan about self-control, to help him not lose himself to rage again, while Gohan is forced to come to terms with the ferocity in him. He is only able to do so for a few years, before the heart virus takes Goku, at which point Piccolo steps in to tutor Gohan when having been personally affected by his rage, and this power, combined with his time accepting his Namekian identity, have made any ambitions of world domination fade away. Piccolo takes a more drastic measure of having Gohan focus his rage and then calm himself as a means to try and control it, despite being injured a few times. The gamble works, with Gohan keeping his family in mind to center himself and unlock a version of the Ikari state. Bulma does bring up the possibility of using the Namekian Dragon Balls to remove the heart virus from Goku's body and then revive him, but Goku accepts his death when happy to see Gohan doing well, and that, if his purpose is to control Gohan, he has better options improving himself in Otherworld before using Namek if it proves necessary or possible. When 17 and 18 show up, having naturally matured his ki at a greater rate than Broly would on Vampa, makes the twins hopeless, but Gohan's fear of letting his rage loose has him encourage them to give up, which they do when having not yet gained the bloodlust of their future incarnations. Bulma investigates the remains of Gero's lab and learning about it from 17, which has them eventually find the underground room, stopping progress on Cell. Kuririn encourages the twins to adopt the tenets of Shugyo if wishing to find a purpose for their strength and focus for their frustrations, with his encouragement causing 18 to grow close to him as normally. Soon after, Piccolo decides to fuse with Kami due to the latter's age and how these redeemed enemies could be ticking time bombs like Gohan was. As for Yamcha, both he and Bulma's time apart have them decide to give things a second chance, or maybe 23rd at this point. They eventually get married a few years later. Trunks grows up fairly spoiled, but does take interest in his father's martial arts, even if not able to catch up to him. When entering high school, Gohan initially attacks criminals too quick to be seen before quickly opting for the Great Saiyaman outfit. The main change here is that Goku instead requests to be brought back when having reached what he believes to be his limit, for which a 12-day round trip for Burma happens to see if the heart virus can be removed from his body before his revival, and his attack ball being reverse engineered to get to Namek quicker. A medicine is developed just in case the Dragon Balls weren't enough, fully removing it from Goku's system. Though Goku gives an input in tutoring Videl, the amount of time taken to revive him prevents him from being able to change her chances against Popovich, and at best capable of producing a standard ki blast. 17 and Yamcha also participate in the Tenkaichi Budokai, taking the spots of Vegeta and Mighty Mask respectively. The major change comes when Gohan gets Zenji drained, as Shin, drastically underestimating his ki, makes the amount stolen more than enough to revive Buu immediately. After 17 disposes of Dabra for trying to spit on him, Gohan opposes Buu, overpowers him, and attempts to reason with him all the while. This gives Piccolo and Shin the opportunity to dispose of Babidi, when realizing Babidi will only prove a burden at this point. Buu agrees that it's more fun to fight a strong opponent than either destroy civilizations or face certain doom, living at Kami's Shinden. Piccolo finally decides to take his predecessor's role, while also helping Buu gain control of his ki and over his evil nature, not wishing to separate them when Gohan has made him far more appreciative of gaining control over such power. Buu is thereby able to awaken his god ki and the power hidden in Dai Kaioshin's consciousness. 9 months later, Goten is born, and a peaceful age comes to Earth, Videl then taking her father's place as champion at the 26th Tenkaichi Budokai, as Yamcha stayed to win the 25th. Tarbell doesn't go to Earth with no Vegeta there, and is eventually hunted down. Abo and Kado, though not needing to improve as much as normal, with Frieza's rule still intact, have grown in strength and competence, enough for Frieza to recommend they take Dodoria's place as joint chief enforcers. With only 3 pure-hearted Saiyans, Beerus doesn't have the Super Saiyan God Dream, and goes back to sleep soon after destroying Frieza. Cold reworks his business as a protection racket of sorts, to not get on Beerus's nerves. Granola then wishing to become the strongest in the universe to overthrow Cold and the Heaters. When the Gammas show up, Piccolo is nearly as strong as usual from sparring with Buu, and still chooses to wish for his full potential to be unleashed, along with Goku's, when requesting they go to Namek, worrying about the consequences of pushing Gohan further than normal, when believing Gamma 2 may be stronger than Gohan or Buu. Goku fights Gamma 1, and Piccolo fights Gamma 2 as usual, Orange Piccolo ending the fight, and Cell having never become public knowledge means no Cell Max. For GT, Piccolo is too distracted teaching Buu, and Pilaf manages to make his wish, as short of a rule as it may be. Piccolo decides to clean up his mess by taking charge of the mission, Trunks piloting the ship, and Gohan coming along as extra support, along with a stowaway Pan. Events go near enough the same beyond Piccolo taking Trunks' role in battle, when the latter is too out of his depth as a fighter, until the visit to Pital. Trunks has no way to avoid becoming Baby's servant, Piccolo seeming to be willing to eliminate him for the greater good. Baby gets scared enough to flee, and heads to Earth, taking Goten as a host, before finding a permanent one in Goku after making him drop his guard. Though Gohan is still stronger even after Baby's transformations, his unwillingness to give into his rage or get rid of his father keeps the fight going. Eventually, Baby's taunts and attacks on Pan provoke Gohan enough to transform, but Pan, being nearby to plead for him to recognize her, brings him under control and gives Baby no opportunity to possess him, with his ferocity having him damage Goku's body, but not enough to be fatal. Buu then joins with no conflict in doing so, and is able to go inside Goku's body in a liquefied form, destroying destroying the eggs in the brain, trapping Baby with a piece of himself, before Gohan destroys it with a Kamehameha when Boo comes out, as Boo prevented Popo from being infected. The ultimate Dragon Balls are sealed away. Gero and Mew trick Gohan into coming to Hell, though facing no opponent there. Boo opposes Super 17, turning 17 into chocolate and eating him. They then plan to use Namek's Dragon Balls to bring Gohan back to Earth and revive all those who were slain, with them having not been used enough to bring out all their minus energy, even with the distortion. As peaceful days return to Earth, Gohan tutors Pan more on ki control. A revived 17 chooses to estrange himself from the Dragon Team out of guilt. Around age 811, Goku senses his life coming to an end and spends what time with his family he can, especially proud at how far Gohan has come in controlling his nature. It's here we see the similarity between Gohan and Super Broly as mild-mannered men who become berserkers, and makes Gohan a perfect substitute. The main difference between them being Gohan having support to control his ferocious nature that Broly is just coming around to doing. Thank you for having watched through this What If. Check out other ones, comment your own requests, subscribe to assure you don't miss it, and I'll see you later.